Welcome to the T-Squared Dad's Brown Bag Podcast. Here's your hosts, Kyle Baker and Dieter Burrell. All right, welcome back to the T-Squared Dad's Brown Bag Podcast. Today we're going to talk about something that Dieter and I have a pretty good amount of experience with, and that is managing client expectations, managing challenging designs with clients, and some of the things we've learned along the way whenever you're trying to manage those things and how to really work through them so that everybody's getting what they want in a reasonable amount of time and, cut down on as much frustration as possible. Clients can get real frustrated really quickly if they're trying to tell you one thing, you're interpreting it one way, and giving them something that they weren't expecting to get. So, Dieter, have you had any clients like that lately, or any specific experiences that you want to talk about?
I think every client has a certain expectation. And when you don't communicate it, when you don't say it either verbally or via email or in some fashion, or it's a lot of the times you have to follow up an email and explain to them, say, hey, because I've had the question, it's like, hey, what does that mean? Well, it means that my services either begin here or they stop there. A lot of the times I get people where I've told them, because they don't understand where the role ends, depending on the phase that you're in, what you're doing. But that's only one part of managing your client. When you're designing, their vision in their head is different than your vision in your head.
Yeah.
And I think what's critical for anybody that's working with clients is to ask them for examples. Hey, what do you envision this building? Because a lot of times they'll say, it's like, I'm giving the designer freedom. We want postmodern, especially when they know words. Like, a lot of times they don't know words. They say, hey, we want something like cool.
Yeah.
What is cool? You want cool, like...
Yeah, what's cool to you is not necessarily cool to me.
Mediterranean style with a tile roof. Is that cool to you? Or is it like, a square building with looks like a glass box? Is that cool to you?
Yeah.
What is cool?
Well, and like you were asking them for, hey, send me some stuff that you like. Send me some stuff that you're thinking about that you want in your project. One of the biggest things that I've found that works really well is not only have them send you things that they like, but send you things that they absolutely do not like. And sometimes you can get a lot more from seeing what someone doesn't want style-wise or doesn't want layout-wise as you can from them sending twice as many things that they do like. Sometimes just going in and being able to check that box. Okay, they don't want an open floor plan. Okay, they don't want storefront glazing. Okay, they really like white. That doesn't help me out a lot. But they really don't like stainless steel or whatever the case may be. Sometimes having your clients tell you what they do not want or what they, for lack of better terms, hate, that's more valuable as a designer, because a lot of people think architects are just creative and design and they do all these things. But one of the main principles to me of being an architect is being able to take someone's idea and turn it into something that can be built. Right? They talk about all these great ideas that they have. We want to be able to entertain. We want to be able to open this up to the outside. That's all well and good. But if you can't take what they're saying and be able to put it on paper so that you can build it, then to me, you're not doing your job as an architect. And sometimes that can be very difficult, especially with a client that doesn't necessarily have the same vocabulary that you're used to using. I know you were giving me an example. One time we were working and somebody wanted like a sunroom or a solarium or something like that. And what they really meant was they wanted a screened-in porch. Well, that's not the same terms that we're used to. When somebody says a sunroom, that's a fully enclosed, air-conditioned space with a lot of light coming in, versus an outdoor space with screening to keep the bugs out. So you have to, but if you were able to get that client to send you over a few pictures of what they were thinking of, I'm sure all of their pictures would have been screen rooms. And we immediately you'd have been able to know that, okay, this is a screen room. This isn't actually a sunroom. and move forward, as opposed to spending time designing this sunroom and then them being like, that's not at all what I wanted. And now they're frustrated and you're frustrated. So, really being able to take what they're saying, maybe even quickly sketch it, or, be able to ask those right questions. When somebody says, I want an open floor plan. Okay. Open floor plan. Gotcha. Does that mean you don't want any demising walls for dining rooms, offices, anything like that? Just bedrooms? Oh, no. I really would like to have a couple of little half walls here and some of this over there and some headers that are kind of drawn in with, cased openings. Okay. Well, that's a different interpretation of open floor plan to me. So being able to ask those right questions and not just immediately think that what you think of as open is the same as what they think of as open.
There's a language, there's an architecture language, and then there's a common person language. I think the great communicators can stop talking architecture language and start talking common sense language. Yeah. Like I met this client.
There's a lot of jargon in architecture.
Oh yeah. Like you said headers. Like you said soffits. You said
cased openings. I have people all the time like, whoa, what's a cased opening? Oh, that's a actually framed in opening. It's not necessarily just drywall turned and, it is jargon, and it's trying to turn that part of your brain off and be able to talk in layman's terms as to what they really are going to be able to understand fully.
Yeah, because I had a client and she had all these ideas, and she goes, hey, I want to do an addition to my house. Right now I deal more with residential folks than I do with commercial. My background is extensively commercial, but there is still that, you still have to deal with people one-on-one and try to explain to them what you're doing. Anyways, she has all these great ideas, and I said to her, it's like, well, have you ever thought of just kind of keeping it simple and just doing an addition and just taking out all the walls to make some of the existing rooms just bigger?
Yeah.
I said, because if you do one little bit on that side, one little bit of that side, that means you have to touch exterior walls twice. So every time you touch an exterior wall, yes, and they forget to say, well, because the guy that's going to frame the slab on this side, he's going to frame the slab for pouring the concrete on one side. He has to go to the other side, and he has to make sure that he frames it correctly too. Instead of one side, he's just going to do three sides, and the other, in your case, you're going to have three sides on one side and three sides on the other, and he can't be repeating the work.
Yeah,
it's repetition that makes it cheaper, not little. You may think little pieces. He's thinking like, if I can just do this knee wall or this brace for the pour, I can just kind of run it one time and cut those things like 15 or 20 times and kind of just install it quickly, because it's time and effort is literally what runs the job.
Yeah.
When you try to tell that to the person, it's like, just imagine I'm the guy who's going to take all the brick off your wall. Am I going to charge you more from one brick on one side, or am I going to charge you the other way around, less from one side or more for two sides?
Yeah.
Because I told her, just do the addition on one side. Just extend the house one direction, and we'll work it in so that the inside walls are just removed. And wherever you're pouring brand new slab, that's where you put a brand new bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then all your plumbing can be routed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And those are the types of things that whenever you're working with a client like that is expected for us to be able to think through ahead of time. Right? Okay, so whenever we're laying out this floor plan, we know we're about to pour a big new slab. Well, if we're going to move the bathroom, we're not going to move it in the existing slab. We're going to make sure that it falls in the new slab, so we can put everything underneath the ground, less demo. And there could be circumstances where you have to add on to both sides of the house, but if you can try to consolidate where that amount of effort is going to go, it's going to be much more economical. And not only that, but like if they're still living in that house and you got demolition going on the east side and on the west side, well, then you're kind of just living in between, as opposed to just being able to say, okay, we're going to stay over on the west side, do all the work on the east side. So
here's the other thing that came up in that conversation. I said to her, so what did the contractor say to you? Because you called the contractor, right? She goes, yeah. And he told me he couldn't quote me the job because he didn't have a set of drawings.
that makes sense.
Okay, so you by no choice or by no option, you needed to have somebody draw you up something. And in a lot of residential, you end up having an idea. Oh, I have a great idea. I'm going to do this addition to my house. And you call the contractor and say, hey, I just want to do an addition. And he knows he can probably just get an engineer's set of drawings and just do exactly what he thinks it is. But he doesn't offer you any options. Versus an architect, he'll talk to you and he says, what is it that you want? Because this came up exactly. I go, do you want to have a room that is the same size as all the other rooms? This is your master bedroom. You want to do an addition with your master bedroom. You want it to look like the rest of the house with that squatted little 8-foot ceiling. She goes, no, I don't. I go, we can do a scissor truss, I told her, and we can make a vaulted ceiling in your master bedroom. We can raise the exterior walls up another foot, make it 9, or make it even another foot after that, make it 10. And then you have this nice grand master bedroom with a walk-in shower and what do they call that, clawfoot tub, Roman tubs.
Yep.
And we can work it all out. We just got to make enough clean decisions. But this is what a contractor is not going to sit with you.
No.
And work out. He's going to just execute. He just wants to execute because this is where he makes his money. He wants to execute it as fast as possible because he's got the next client to talk to.
Yeah.
Versus an architect, yeah, we have other clients, but we're so vested in seeing a person's vision through that we will spend more time out of our daily lives to make sure the design it's what the client wants.
Yeah.
This is this one fundamental thing that everybody forgets, that why would I call an architect and I'm going to spend more money? Because the contractor's already dipping into his profit. The quote that he gives you says, oh, don't worry about it. We'll have all our engineers and everybody else draw it up and blah, blah. He's already charging you for it.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, he's already charged for it. So he's already making the money that he was going to charge, that the architect charges. He was already going to make the money for it. But so managing clients, challenging, when a client has a challenging design, it is critical to be able to have a dialogue with them, and then for you as a client to share your vision, because it is your vision. And people may say it's like your ideas, your vision, and everything else is important to understand because you're trying to convey it to us, and we're trying to make sure that we execute what you're wanting.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that separates some architects from others. Some architects, they're going to instate their own vision into what someone's saying and that they want to do with their house or want to do with their building. Or you can be the architect that listens, open to communication about what they want, and then take what the client truly wants and guide that journey into something that can be built for their budget, in their time frame, on schedule, and still give them the product that they want at the end of the day. You don't have to always instill your own style. Like for me personally, not a fan of Mediterranean, but if I was to be working on a project and they said, I absolutely love Mediterranean, there's some architects out there that would try their hardest to just talk them out of that for all of these other reasons. Or they want Mediterranean. Well, I can do that too. It's not my favorite, but we can work through that, and maybe I make a couple of suggestions along the way that might make that a little bit more appealing in my eyes. But at the end of the day, the work is for the client. The client is the one that's going to have to live with it from now until forever. And so you have to listen to what your client's saying, whether they're being difficult, whether they're being challenging whenever it comes to the design. That pushback from an architect to kind of put their own stamp on it sometimes can make that conversation and that process a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Every client communicates different one from the other. Some are very well at expressing their ideas, and some you have to talk to them a little more,
and sometimes even show them some stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't see in 3 dimensions the way that an architect can, which is why we went to school for so long and we worked through all these things, is to be able to see something in 2D, or to be able to listen to an idea and be able to imagine it in our head what it would look and feel like.
Right.
And that is, like you're saying, that's part of the problem with, not a problem, it's one of the difficulties of working with a client that's not necessarily as educated in architecture, but you need to be able to fill those gaps for them and be able to talk through those things, show them those things so that they can see it. Yeah. A lot of clients, they want to see renderings. They want to see what it's really going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. You can show a client a flat line elevation, and he thought you just grown a third eye when he looks at you. And he's like, I don't know what you're showing me. And I think from experience, I had a client, and I said to them, what you saw here and what we're telling you now from looking at other buildings that are here located in this vicinity, what you wanted originally doesn't even fit. I look at your building or your complex, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. I think you're making a big mistake.
Yeah.
I think you need to go with something that's fitting with the styles that are there. You want to do something like this? We'll go put it in an open field because it belongs with a set of other buildings that are similar to those buildings. Mm-hmm. But not here. Look what you have around. Just look here. You know, is it a campus feel? You want to feel the kids that they're part of a campus, or you want to create this like hodgepodge of different buildings and different architecture styles? And I would say that if it was a museum, say, hey, museum, make it stand out.
Yeah.
Because it talks about art, it's expressive.
It's supposed to be different.
Yeah, it's supposed to be different because it's expressing what's inside, what it's holding inside. You know, I worked in military installations, and they have that campus mentality. I worked in universities; they have that campus mentality. And a lot of universities, some of the more contemporary universities, they don't even have a design guide, which they should have. Mm-hmm. Because I remember I went to UF, you went to UF, Kyle, and I remember there's some buildings out there at UF that got built. Yeah, they're contemporary, they're this and that, but they're like the art and School of Architecture building.
Right.
There was like a really functional reason why that building stood out from some of the older buildings. And there is actually called a Gothic architecture. Mm-hmm. Gothic, forgot what it's got a name to, a university something or other, that a lot of institutions like upstate New York, a lot of their newer colleges, they want to maintain that same style because it is this vision of these buildings that you associate with universities, you know, right. higher education. I think Columbia is one of them. What's another good one? Harvard. It's like very popular, their architecture style. The original buildings at UF had that collegiate Gothic style, which is very popular. But again, it goes back to like, hey, you guys are more in tune with architecture than the average Joe, because we eat, breathe, and think architecture. We enjoy architecture. We enjoy what other architects are doing through examples, through literature, through seminars, through online webinars. You know, we talk to other architects. We're constantly, it's like we're like the doctors of architecture, architects. You have to become not a fanatic, because that's too strong of a word, but a student of the art. You have to become a student of the art, something that you really appreciate, something that you're willing to grow and learn, and every year you learn something new. Because if you're not learning something new, you might as well just stop doing architecture, because you're no longer an architect.
Yeah. to be honest, I think you said it very well right there. And if you're not constantly learning in architecture, then you're not doing architecture the right way. But I think, guys, that was a great one. Wrap it up for today. We're out of time, but before we go, the joke of the day. And this one comes to you from Dieter's fortune cookie today at lunch. The joke of the day: what do you call a sheep with no legs? A cloud. Thanks for listening to the T-Squared Dad's Brown Bag Podcast. Please subscribe on your favorite platform, and we will talk to you next time.